Thank you for attending the meeting on time. Since the last meeting, we have not issued any information paper. Second item on the agenda, schedule of meetings for the remainder of the 2025 session. There is a paper tabled before you setting out the dates of the regular meeting between July and October. The meeting in October will be held at 10:45 a.m. on the 13th of October. Please note, the President of the Legislative Council has acted in accordance with the rules of procedure and determined the schedule of meetings for the remainder of the session. If you have no questions or comments, the Secretariat will issue a notice to the members informing you of the schedule of the meeting. No comment. Third item, items for discussion at the next meeting. LC paper number CB bracket 3525/2025 bracket 01. List of outstanding items for discussion. The next meeting will be held at 10:45 a.m. on the 19th of May 2025, Monday. The administration proposes to discuss updates on family-friendly employment measures for government employees and promotion of volunteer service in the civil service and publicizing good stories of civil servants. Any comments? If not, we're going to discuss the two items at the next meeting. The panel will lead a delegation visit to Shenzhen on the 26th of May. 11 members have signed up for the visit. The panel will seek the House Committee's approval for the delegation visit that will last for a day. Fourth item, enhanced measures under the Civil Service Disciplinary Mechanism. LC paper number CB bracket 3525/2025 bracket 02, paper provided by the administration. Also, the Secretariat has prepared a background brief for the members. Would the administration please come into the conference room? Members, if you'd like to put questions, please press the request to speak button. Would the Secretary for the Civil Service please come into the room first? Secretary, please walk us through the paper. Thank you, Madam Chair. The government attaches a lot of importance to the conduct of civil servants. Most of them abide by the rules and contribute to the prosperity of our city. There are some civil servants who breached the law or misconducted themselves. Over the past 5 financial years, from 2019-20 to 2023-24, a total of 1,073 civil servants were punished with formal disciplinary action for serious misconduct or criminal conviction. On average, there is 215 of such cases, and 2,080 have been punished with summary disciplinary action for misconduct of less serious nature. We have 416 cases on average per year. We act in accordance with the Civil Service Disciplinary Mechanism to punish these civil servants so that they can correct their actions. In recent years, the government has endeavored to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the civil service disciplinary mechanism by rolling out various enhancement measures. Starting from 2024, we ask bureaus and departments to give a half-yearly returns on progress updates on their handling of disciplinary cases. We ask the bureaus and departments to step up monitoring of summary disciplinary action against officers on probationary terms. We also have ongoing efforts in capacity building for departments and bureaus on investigating disciplinary cases. In the 2024 policy address, it is said that we are going to amend the Public Service Administration Order PSAO and Public Service Disciplinary Regulation PSDR. The proposed amendments cover three major areas. First, we are going to streamline disciplinary procedures to enhance efficiency and effectiveness in the processing of cases. We are going to repeal duplicated hearing procedures. We will adopt measures to effectively address delaying tactics on cooperative acts by the accused officers. We will empower inquiry officer and inquiry committee to make directions to maintain the conduct of hearing in an orderly manner. We will also enhance the efficiency of putting in place punishment for civil servants who have been convicted. We are going to enhance the interdiction arrangements by extending the scope of interdiction. If the bureaus and departments have an intent to dismiss the relevant officers, that is Section 12 action, then we may interdict them from duty. If an officer have a persistent substandard performance, then we will initiate this Section 12 action. These may not constitute disciplinary punishment. We have to interdict these officers because they affect other colleagues. We'll enhance the interdiction arrangement also by tightening the arrangement of withholding emoluments during interdiction. If an officer is undergoing Section 12 proceedings on the ground of loss of confidence, or if they are undergoing criminal or departmental investigation, then we may withhold their emoluments. If an officer is convicted of criminal charge serious enough to warrant dismissal punishment, then we may withhold in full the emoluments of the relevant interdicted officers. We will extend the withholding arrangements to interdicted officers who is convicted of criminal charge serious enough to warrant dismissible punishment. We're also going to tighten the arrangement of forfeiting the withheld emoluments during interdiction. We may repay or withhold in full or in part the emoluments withheld. The relevant officers will have discretion to decide whether to forfeit the withheld emoluments in full or in part. The last areas are technical amendments. In light of the implementation of the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance, we are going to amend the PSAO and PSDR. We amend the mechanism to make it more comprehensive. We have not undermined the rights of the accused officers. We will continue to handle each and every cases fairly and transparently. In early April 2025, we consulted the PSC on the proposed amendments and obtained their full support. In the middle of April, we briefed the staff side on the proposals. After listening to your views, in the second half of this year, we will commence the drafting works, and we target to implement the enhanced arrangements in 2026. Apart from enhancing the disciplinary mechanism, we want to enhance civil servants' understanding of the rules and orders so that they will not breach the law or misconduct themselves. We're going to issue a booklet to all civil servants that is named Knowing More About Civil Service Disciplinary Mechanism. We will continue to implement the enhancement measures. Thank you. I am happy to take questions from the members. There are 6 members who have pressed the button to speak. I will read out their names. Mr. Chen Chen-ying, Aman Yu, Lam Chen-sing, Johnny Ng, Benson Look, and So Chan-wing. 4 minutes per member. Thank you. Mr. Chen Chen-ying. Thank you, Madam Chair. I came across many disciplinary reports of civil servants previously when I held public office. The disciplinary the disciplinary procedures usually take years instead of months. So I support the enhancement of the mechanism. In order to address the delaying tactics on cooperative acts by the accused officers, currently, we can only hold a hearing if the officers fail to show up 3 times. But now, even if they fail to show up for the first time, we can continue with the hearing. We will take into account, what kind of reasonable excuse we will take into account. And it is also said that sometimes bureaus and departments take long time in order to obtain the relevant documents from the court. And you're going to streamline the procedures in such a way that the authority can consider the court sentence of the convicted officers and other facts before imposing punishment, instead of having to obtain the court documents. Is there a threshold? Say, for example, if the officer is sentenced for 6 months in jail, then you can terminate or dismiss them immediately. If the officer is awarded a disciplinary punishment other than dismissal or compulsory retirement, the authority is empowered to forfeit or the withheld emoluments in part. So what kind of disciplinary punishment are we talking about here? And by withholding emoluments in part, how many % of emoluments are we talking about? Secretary, thank you. If the accused officers fail to give us a reasonable excuse, by reasonable excuse we mean being sick or their family members being sick, then we allow them to fail to show up to the meeting or hearing. If they become out of touch without reasons, then that's not reasonable. Second question on whether we should wait for the judgment to be handed down by the court. We will not set a threshold, a fixed threshold. We look at the, say, severity of the case. If that's about corruption, then we dismiss the relevant civil servant. So for this type of charge, we dismiss the civil servants immediately. We don't have to wait for the judgment to be out. For, say, murder cases or serious wounding cases, the same goes. But whether or not to wait for the rulings or judgment, the authority has the power to decide. However, the disciplinary authority may, however, still wait the court documents if the facts and circumstances of the cases are not clear to them. We believe that the disciplinary authority, DA, will handle the case carefully. Because otherwise, if the penalty is not proportional to the charge, then the relevant colleagues may file judicial review. And we've seen such cases before. We believe that the DA will act cautiously. Third, regarding disciplinary punishment other than dismissal or compulsory retirement, they could be reprimand or serious reprimand. For reprimand or serious reprimand, we impose a fine of, say, 1 month's salary to the civil servants, or a percentage higher than 1 month's salary. Madam Chair, I'd like to add something else. Reprimand and serious reprimand will affect the promotion opportunities of the civil servants. For serious reprimand, the civil servants may not be able to be promoted in 3 to 5 years. For reprimand, the relevant officer will not be able to be promoted in 1 to 3 years. Next, Dr. Nga Man Yu. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions. First, on page 3 of the paper, it is said that we're going to streamline the procedures. I wonder how long it takes usually to process a case. And the secretary said that they will distribute a booklet to all civil servants. Other than issuing this booklet, how can we make sure that the civil servants are aware of the enhancement measures? I don't think that the civil servants will read the booklet in detail. Third, public education. How will you publicize the enhancement mechanism to the public?
多謝主席。
Secretary. Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's take 2324, for instance, for formal disciplinary action. Now, this is not counting the investigation period because the period can vary depending on the complexity and the cooperation. From the initiation of the case to the recommendation of punishment. From the notification of the alleged or the accused officer to the PSC's recommendation for punishment, 81% of them can be completed within 9 months. And for those committing this criminal cases and cases that do not need hearings, 96% of them can be completed within 3 months. With our measures here, in particular, for cases that more clear-cut, we don't really need to wait for the judge to come up with the report and impose the punishment. We can save about 3 months and cut down the time to about 2 months. For the entire procedures, how much time can be saved? It all depends on the cases. We allow more power to the IO and IC if one is absent once, then we can carry on with the hearing. Now, we have seen cases in which the accused officer didn't show up, and it took about 20 months to complete. Now, with this proposed measure, we can shorten the time. We can carry on with the hearing in the absence, and that would disincentivize the accused officer not to be absent. It depends on the cases how much time can be shortened because of the complexity. Yes, there are 2 more questions. How can we make the civil servants more aware of the procedures? We have the induction training. We have the routine training on a regular basis. The Civil Service College has also explained this. We have the message that the civil service job is a mission, and they're not supposed to breach the law and misconduct themselves. Last year, we published a booklet which explained in sufficient detail to the civil servants what constitutes misconduct. That would include more technical details to make colleagues more aware of the details. In terms of public education, on our website, we do provide details regarding our expectations of the colleagues' integrity. The disciplinary mechanism is an internal mechanism, and we do not really dwell too much on the minute details, but we do make clear all the requirements of integrity. Mr. Lam Chun Sing. Madam Chair, thank you. I've consulted some unions in the civil service. They feel that this is reasonable. Certainly there are black sheep in the civil service, and it is only reasonable that we have all these mechanisms to govern the situation. But I think that we should strike a balance to make sure that we have a fair and just mechanism for appeal. I've got some questions regarding para 9. First, if the accused officer indicates plead guilty, then there will not be any need for any hearing for mitigation. This can be done in writing. Some civil service may not be good at words, good at writing, and they really want to make representation. Would that be a good arrangement for them? I am more concerned that if mitigation is done in writing, then it would be just going through the motion. And there may be an assumption that it is a guilty verdict, and the accused officer will be disqualified. Now, if one pleads guilty and shows remorse, and they would like to advance some mitigating factors, wouldn't be better to keep the physical hearing. Third, if one is absent from the hearing without valid reasons, then the hearing will continue. I think we should keep the 3 absences that we kept before. Now, I know that you are concerned about the people may be delaying the whole process for a couple of years. Now, if one is absent for if one is absent once, then you can make arrangement for the second and third hearings. At least you should give the accused officer 3 chances. Finally, the IO or inquiry officer can issue directives to stop the accused officer filibustering. So what criteria would the IO be adopting to determine whether someone is filibustering? Now, we have the terms of procedure here. If someone is really advancing arguments that are frivolous, vexatious, and then it would be considered filibustering. But do you have any criteria regarding filibustering? If they say a few more words than usual, would you consider them filibustering? Right, would you cite some examples to put things beyond doubt? Secretary. Yes, first, for those who plead guilty, and if they find it easier for them to mitigate verbally, then we would allow a video mitigation, or indeed, if they want to have a hearing, we can make the arrangement accordingly. In some cases, some officers may find it easier to reduce things in writing, then we can obviate with the hearing. The second question, can we keep the 3 absences without valid reasons? Now, our valid reasons are very liberal. If they do not communicate with us without any valid reason, like given the modern day communication, it is undesirable for them not to get in touch. We may set up a hearing. They would have delayed the matter significantly. And I don't really want to see a situation where people are delaying the proceedings in this way. So we do see the merits of changing the arrangement. Members can rest assured that we will not be too strict. Now, obviously, being sick, being ill is a valid reason. We would really look at the whole thing in a reasonable manner. If you are concerned that there may be some uncontrollable reasons, like someone passes out at home, then that's a valid reason. We can invite them back for the hearing. We are being fair to the officers. Third, we hope that we are we're able to deal with chaotic situation. This is a rare occasion, but indeed there were occasions where the accused officer invites people to come along to assist in the inquiry, but they would be shouting and yelling and disrupt the proceedings. Filibustering, they may not be yelling and shouting, but they are repeating the points ad infinitum. We would allow them a time to advance their arguments, unless they obviously repeating themselves again and again excessively. The inquiry officer would adopt a liberal attitude. They give some concession or some allowance for people to get their points across. Dr. Chun, Madam Chair, the civil servants have always been of high quality. They are really committed to their work. I support the work undertaken by the civil servants. But for the black sheep, there should be some mechanism to deal with them. I've got some questions. First, do you have any smart devices to monitor the performance? Second, over the past 5 financial years, 1,073 civil servants were punished with disciplinary action for serious misconduct or criminal conviction. 2,080 were subject to summary disciplinary action for misconduct of less serious nature. Now, for these misconducts, what sort of nature are they? What are the most serious ones? Second, for misconduct of minor nature, now what sort of penalty was meted out? Now, for dismissal, compulsory retirement, and reduction in pay, how many cases are there? Would they be of sufficient deterrent effect? Would there be any courses for them to undertake to help them improve their efficiency? And would you also suspend the salary increments? Secretary, right, smart device or IT, we don't use much in this regard because all the cases differ, and we would work on the basis of the documents and the interviews. We do see much room for the introduction of IT in this regard. Second, some examples. Now, for dismissal, for instance, most serious offense or punishment, now there was a government school teacher who used inappropriate teaching materials that caused some undesirable impact, and this is also undermining the professional image of the teaching profession and civil servants. That this person has been dismissed. Now, there are some officers who were absent for solidly for 14 days. They would be dismissal. Now, there is another one, a management staff in a stadium. This person used the booking system to book on behalf of his or her friend. And the person is supposed to make the booking himself, but he used his authority to make the booking, and he was ordered to retire. A serious reprimand. There is an officer working in government venue, and he was engaged in altercation with another colleague while on duty. Now he's on duty, and this is bringing the civil service into disrepute. Now he had paid docked for 1 month. Now for reprimand, there is a colleague who committed theft. He was arrested for theft, and he was criminally prosecuted. Now one has to make a report regarding arrest. This person has not made any report during COVID. He was working from home. He had to attend a hearing, and he didn't report the arrest. That this person was reprimanded, and he was fined a quarter of a month's salary. Now, for the summary, that disciplinary action, we have the written warning and also the verbal warning. And within 1 year, there will be no promotion for written warning. Now, for verbal warning, there will be no promotion for 6 months. Now, for someone who is acting in his capacity, he has to go back to the previous posting without any more acting appointment. So this applies to warning, written warning, and verbal warning.
Let me give you an example. There was a government driver who was late to work for an hour, and he was not able to carry the duty that he was supposed to, and he was subject to a verbal warning. There was another colleague who, when they are receiving a subsidy from the government, was supposed to live in the place that he purchased. However, they, without approval from the government, did not reside in the place that they purchased. We asked them to return the relevant subsidy and the interest, and we also issue them with a verbal warning. Now, regarding criminal charges, for serious criminal offense such as corruption or assault or sexual-related offenses, we may dismiss the relevant officers and ask them to retire. For serious reprimand, there was a case where a colleague, during non-office hours, steal goods from a supermarket and was sentenced, and was charged and convicted of a theft. We reprimanded them, and there was a civil servant who sell fake and false watches online, and he was convicted, and we reprimanded him and fined the relevant officer. These are some of the examples of summary disciplinary action and formal disciplinary action. Thank you, Secretary. Now it's easier for us to understand the different level of punishment. Mr. Benson, look, the civil servants in Hong Kong has always been clean and efficient. We want to enhance the disciplinary mechanism to combat black sheep in the force. My questions is about paragraph 10 of the paper. That's under PSAO. Currently, if a officer is convicted of a criminal charge, then they don't have to go to a hearing, and in the future, the authority can impose punishment on an officer convicted without receiving the court documents. You said that the DA can have regards to the court sentence and other facts of the case before imposing punishment. So how are you going to collect the facts and circumstances of the case if you don't have to wait for the court documents? We may have to wait a long time before the judgment of a case is out. But usually in the judgment, we will see whether the defendant is trustworthy and reliable and if they will reoffend. Shouldn't you consider also these factors? Second, are you going to look at the type of criminal offense or the length of the sentence before you decide on the punishment? Say for sexual harassment, some of the punishment could be community service order. For dangerous driving resulting in a fatality, then the relevant officer or person may usually be subject to jail sentence. Third, on mitigation. How do you usually allow the officer to provide their mitigation? Because now you don't even have to wait for the judgment. Then it seems that the officer will not be allowed to provide mitigation either. In the annex to the paper, I see that from 2019 to 2025, the number of dismissal amount to 239. Up to 31st of December 2024, there were 239 civil servants who have been dismissed. How many of them are convicted of criminal charges? Secretary. Thank you. First, what kind of facts and circumstances of the case we consider? After the criminal case has happened, we are going to obtain facts and circumstances from legitimate means. We will not consider rumors. We're not asking the DA to make a decision before receiving the court documents. If the DA is cautious, they may choose to wait until the judgment is out from the court before they decide on the punishment. Second, you ask whether we have regards to the court sentence or the nature of the case before we decide on the punishment. We actually consider both of them. For sexual offenses, even if the penalty is light, as the act is not accepted by the community and it's difficult for us to manage the civil service because colleagues of the opposite gender may find it difficult to work with the relevant officer. We will also have regards to this factor before we decide on the punishment. Third, on the point of mitigation. For officers who have been criminally convicted, we ask them to provide also their mitigation to set out what we should consider. Apart from the representation of mitigations, after the disciplinary authority has considered all the views and before the punishment is determined by the disciplinary authority, we will give the accused officers all the facts and they will still be able to provide another mitigation for the disciplinary authority, and that mitigation will not be subject to any further comments. So that's the last words of the accused officers. We give the relevant officer 2 chances to put forward the mitigation for punishment by making representations at 2 stages. Regards the numbers, I will give you more details after the meeting. Dr. So Chong-ming. Thank you. I support the enhanced measures under the disciplinary mechanism. In the paper, it is said that all bureaus and departments are required to provide the senior departmental management and the SCSD with half-yearly returns on progress updates of their handling of disciplinary cases. Now we are here to discuss the disciplinary mechanism. So I have a question for the administration. Will you consider establishing a centralized real-time data or cases collection platform to enhance flow of data and enhance the analysis of disciplinary cases? By this, the administration will be able to track and monitor the progress of all the cases. In such a, by this we don't have to wait for the half-yearly returns anymore. Second, Secretary, you said just now that most civil servants abide by the code and just a minority of them misconducted themselves. So my questions is this. Will you consider regularly publishing the nature of the disciplinary cases and the punishment imposed internally to deter anyone from committing any offense or non-compliance? Secretary, thank you. There are two types of cases. First, if an officer has committed criminal offense, they don't have to be convicted. As long as they are arrested by the law enforcement agencies, they have to make a report to the bureaus and departments within 7 days. After the management has received the relevant information, arrest cases may not be reported to the CSB immediately, but if the officer is convicted, we will be made aware of it. For non-compliance of internal guidelines or regulations, if no criminal elements is involved, then there will be a process. Because the supervisor will have to make investigation after they have collected sufficient evidence to substantiate the case. Then the supervisor may initiate Section 9 action or Section 10 action, whereby an officer may be dismissed or asked to retire. The Secretariat will, or the Secretariat on Civil Service Discipline will have to initiate hearing on these. The supervisor of the departments and bureaus must inform the SCSD on the relevant cases so that the SCSD can arrange for a hearing. There is already a real-time reporting mechanism because our SCSD will be made aware of any disciplinary cases. However, during an investigation process, we don't know if the case will be substantiated or not, and some complaints may not be legitimate. So we don't think that we should be collecting this data at an initial stage of a case. As to whether we will publish the punishment imposed internally regularly, first, if you don't give any details to our colleagues, then we may not be able to deter any officers from breaking the rules. However, if we disclose too much details, then colleagues of the accused officers may be able to identify who the officer is, and sometimes they may misidentify the accused officer. The officer may be subject to disciplinary action. We have to still respect the privacy. We want to also avoid any misunderstanding. So we have to strike a balance. That's why we don't think that it's appropriate for us to regularly disclose all the disciplinary cases. But we will step up education, and we will issue a booklet to all civil servants in order to raise their awareness of compliance. Thank you.
Mr. Dennis Leung. Madam Chair, I must make a declaration that I've got family members who are serving in civil servants or retired civil servants. This paper involves some mechanism for complicated cases, and there may be cases of delays. In the past, we had undesirable situation. I welcome the new arrangement in this paper because this will save us some resources, and also to make sure that everything is going well. I think we have to have a civil service that inspires confidence in the public. I've contacted many unions. Now, in some cases, this may not involve any criminal element. That we do have the guidelines or code for the LegCo members. Now, when dealing with the criminal cases or when dealing with complaints from the members of the public, I hope that you will only deal with these complaints that not anonymous. There may be some anonymous complaints. There may be plotting to create chaos, and they are trying to harm some colleagues by lodging these anonymous complaints. I hope that the complaints should be named, should be non-anonymous complaints. Second, we have disciplined staff and civilian staff. For disciplined staff, the police deal with their own complaints. They're really familiar with the procedures. But for civilian staff, do you have a unified system, or would different departments be handling the complaints differently? I hope that there should be some shared standards. Now, the civil servants are rotating on a regular basis. If there are different standards, it may not be fair. I hope that you will have a look at this. Third, in some cases, the case may have been dealt with internally. I hope that there would be some improvement to the appeal mechanism. Now, in one of the cases, the accused officer was really aggrieved. I think there should be an appeal mechanism which is not handled by the immediate boss. That would enable the hearing to be conducted in a fair and just manner. There should be a proper review of the cases. In absence of such a mechanism, my concern is that it will not be fair to the colleague. I understand that you may not have sufficient set of guidelines, but some may have their own manual. These are the manuals that they create themselves. They formulate some guidelines for the colleagues, although these may not be promulgated guidelines. But that's not an ideal situation. I hope that you would publish some guidelines to guide people along to avoid an unfair situation. Secretary, Madam Chair, on the first question, complaints that are anonymous. Now, from anonymous complaints, from time to time, we would be able to identify some misconducts. Of course, there are some anonymous complaints that are unfounded. If you insist that people will have to identify themselves when they make complaints, then we may run the risk of missing out on some of the potential misconduct. And some of the complaints that may not be valid will not be able to be handled. The members can rest assured that we would tread very carefully. It's only when we have the facts that we would initiate these disciplinary proceedings. So members can rest assured in this regard. I understand that in a department, maybe some management staff may be very strict, and they will be acting on the basis of these complaints, and there may be some anonymous complaints against this person that may be causing disquiet on the part of the colleague. So whether the complaints are anonymous, we have to investigate in an earnest manner. When investigating the disciplinary cases, it's not the same as some criminal cases. We may not be inviting the people along to give a statement. Now, indeed, civilian staff may not have the relevant experience. So starting from last year, we have invited the ICAC to conduct some workshops for our colleagues. Now, these training and workshops will continue. Since 2023 to March 2025, 9 workshops have been held. 430 colleagues have taken part. There are some workshops that are specifically organized for departments that handle more complaints. So that will enable us to have a more uniform approach. Third, appeal channel. In answer to Mr. Benson Look, I said that there are plenty of opportunities for colleagues to make representation. And we do have different parties that are making representations. The management staff would be able to articulate their views, and if the HOG or HOD is in another department, he will also be able to articulate his views. And also, we have the PSC, which is composed of people from different quarters of the community, and they will also be sitting in judgment. If indeed an accused officer feels aggrieved, then he or she may make representation with the chief executive, who will be handling these cases in an impartial manner. Of course, there is this alternative route of taking the cases to the court by way of judicial review. Indeed, I mean, maybe not everybody would be interested in going down this path, but indeed there is this CE representation that can be made. We have very detailed procedures. Now we have with us a booklet here, really copious copy that covers all the steps, every step along the way. Now, people may be more experienced and they may have drafted their own set of guidelines for people to refer to. Now, we have made some changes if people are delaying the proceedings. How we're going to deal with them? That we'd like to have a more uniform approach, and we'd like to have some guidelines for the colleagues. As a result of this revision, we would give very detailed guidelines to the colleagues. Like, under certain circumstances, pay can be docked, or the emoluments can be forfeited up to a certain percentage. We have a whole set of guidelines for the management, so that everybody will be pulling in the same direction. Right, it's my turn next. I heard from the secretary that the whole timeline would take us until 2026. Why is it taking us so long? You must have all the ideas. Is it necessary for you to take such a long time? Can you shorten the time frame? And second, people at different levels committing the offenses. What's going to happen to the pension and the draw pension after retirement? How are you going to deal with this for serious cases? Will you forfeit the pension, or will there be any pension that will be dispersed? Thank you, Madam Chair. Under the PSAO and PSDR, they are the administrative order, and we do have a very detailed drafting process, and all these will have to be approved by the CE in Council. We anticipate that it will come into effect in 2026 because we need to have drafting done by the DOJ, and then we have to go to the CE in Council for authority for permission. The DOJ is really overwhelmed with so many bills. And I think that after they are done with all these bills, things can be moving a lot faster. Second, on the question of pension, that since the year 2000, colleagues are no longer on pensionable terms, and they would be getting the CSPF under the pensions ordinance. In some cases, the pension can be stopped or docked or suspended. Now, if someone conceals certain material facts, or if the pension is given in an appropriate situation, then the pension can be stopped. And also disciplinary proceedings. When disciplinary proceedings are going on, if someone is to retire in the process of these proceedings, then it is likely that the pension can be cancelled or docked or suspended. If one has committed a criminal offense, then under the ordinance that this is out of retirement, if someone is drawing the pension, and if someone is or has committed an offense, that the chief executive is of the view that he would cause damage to Hong Kong or undermine the confidence in the civil service, then the pension can be suspended or cancelled altogether. And also, when employed by the government, one has committed Part 2 of the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance, then the pension can be suspended or docked or suspended. Third, national security. If one is breaching offenses in this area, similar arrangement would be made. If someone retires to evade the punishment, now we have two parts to the provident fund. One is the compulsory contribution. The other one is the voluntary contribution by the government, which is comprising a larger portion. If someone is to retire, to avoid any punishment, then the accrued benefits arising from the government contribution can be withheld. And then there will be a decision as to whether there will be forfeiture in full or in part. If one has retired and under the Civil Service Provident Fund, one can get the voluntary government contribution. For the other part, it won't have to wait until 65. Now, if subsequently it is found that he or she has committed serious offenses that would lead to a loss of confidence in the government or preventive bribery ordinance or national security ordinance, then the government can recover the payment via civil means.
Understood. So there is a mechanism to deal with the pensions. If there's no further questions on this item, then we move on to the next one. That's commendation and award schemes for civil servants. We have a paper provided by the administration and the Legislative Secretariat. Members who would like to put questions, please press the request to speak button. Secretary for the Civil Service, please walk us through the paper. Thank you, Madam Chair. The civil service is the backbone of the SAR government. Its capacity and efficiency is the key success to the implementation of the government's policies. We have proposed a series of policy measures to continuously strengthen the civil service management, as well as advance the reward and punishment system. In the 2024 policy address, the Chief Executive proposed a series of measures to advance the reward and punishment system with a view to further enhancing governance capabilities of the civil service. The government will continue to implement various commendation schemes for civil servants so as to give due recognition to civil servants with outstanding performances and dedication to serving the community. The Chief Executive's Award for Exemplary Performance was rolled out in second quarter of 2023 to give recognition to exemplary teams or individuals. The second team awarded the award has received the award on the 18th of June 2024. The Task Force on Basic Law Article 23 legislation was announced as the award recipient. We also have the Secretary for Civil Service Commendation Award Scheme to commend 100 civil servants every year. In 2024, the 100 civil servants come from 42 bureaus and departments covering 51 different grades. Among them, the most junior one have only 5 years of service. Starting from 2024, we have improved the long and meritorious service travel award scheme so that civil servants don't have to work for more than 20 years or more in order to be given the award. As long as the award recipients have never received the travel award, they can be granted a travel award irrespective of their years of service, on top of the certificate of recognition and commemorative award. We hope that the enhancement measures can further motivate civil servants to strive for excellence. Now, the goal of a long and meritorious civil service travel award scheme is to recognize and award long and meritorious service of certain civil service. All local non-directorate officers with a continuous service of 20 years or more and a track record of consistently very good performance are eligible. However, not all civil servants who are eligible may be granted the award. The administration and the management is required to assess the candidate carefully and select the most suitable candidates to receive the awards. There are 1,500 quotas for the award in 2025-26. The Civil Service Outstanding Service Award Scheme aims to recognize government departments and teams in providing exemplary service, encourage team spirit and innovation, and promote a people-oriented and one government service culture. Through the scheme, we'd like to give due recognition to the civil servants. We are going to organize seminars so that awardees can share their experience. The Civil Service College is improving the award scheme by streamlining the adjudication mechanism and updating the education criteria, such as leveraging on technology to reduce the manpower and time required for departments' participation in the scheme. A new round of the scheme will be launched following the review. Bureaus and departments will also make good use of the commendation letter scheme to commend officers whose performance can meet the prescribed criteria or put up outstanding service. We also have the Hong Kong SAR Honors and Award Scheme that apply to all people in Hong Kong. If civil servants are recognized and commended for their outstanding achievements, it will not only maintain their passion for public service, but will also attract talents to join the civil servants. We will continue to enhance our efforts to publicize good stories of civil servants. Following the extensive publicity on the work of the awarded team of the Chief Executive's Award for Exemplary Performance from June to October 2024, in respect of the enactment of the Article 23, we further selected 10 good stories among the awards recipients of the SCS Commendation Award Scheme for the joint production of a TV series with RTHK. At Career Expo, MTR stations, government venues, we played these videos to showcase the commitments and achievements of the civil servants. At the same time, we will offer support to colleagues by providing them with training on quality service as well as emotional wellness. I personally visit individual bureaus and departments in person to exchange experience with them and encourage them. In the following, my colleagues and I will be happy to take questions from the members. Thank you. There are two members who have pressed the button. First, Mr. Dennis Leung, and then Mr. Benson Look, Deputy Chairman. Mr. Dennis Leung, please. Thank you. Madam Chair, we just now talked about punishment. The mechanism for punishments must be strict and effective. For civil servants putting up outstanding achievements, we have to commend them. And we must publicize them to the 7.5 million Hong Kong people so that their efforts are well recognized. By this, we can motivate other civil servants to strive for excellence. And to try their best to serve the public. As the president of the LegCo said, there is always room for us to do better. The secretary just now talked about the travel award scheme. Previously, there was a minimum service length requirement of 20 years. After the officer have served for 20 years, they have to maintain a good record for another 10 years. It's quite harsh. Now, I think that it's good that the government is now canceling the minimum service length requirement. This will motivate civil servants to strive for better. It seems that there are not that many civil servants who are awarded the travel award scheme. You said that 1,500 civil servants were awarded, but that against 180,000 civil servants, that account for less than 1%. I hope that you will increase the number of award quotas, considering the large number of civil servants we have. For larger bureaus and departments, not a lot of civil servants working under those will be awarded the travel scheme. Some people ask the government to cancel the travel award scheme. However, when the civil servants joined the government, they would have been aware of the travel award scheme. If you cancel it, then the government would have violated the employment ordinance. I think that the travel award scheme is another way for us to motivate the civil servants to strive for excellence. I hope that you will further increase the award quotas or raise the reimbursement. I know that we are having a fiscal deficit. I hope that you will increase the quotas and the amount at appropriate juncture. Secretary. Thank you. There are two types of awardees that will receive the travel award. First, SCS Commendation Award Scheme. About 100 civil servants will receive the award from the Secretary for the civil servants. We are only lowering or canceling the minimum service length requirement for the 100 civil servants who receive the Civil Service Secretary's Commendation Award Scheme. Previously, they are for someone who have been working for less than 20 years in the government, then they are only receiving a certificates of recognition and a commemorative award. We have to wait until the relevant officer have reached 20 years of service before they can be given the travel award. Now, after canceling the minimum service length requirement, as long as the relevant colleague have been awarded the Commendation Award Scheme, then they can also get the travel award, regardless of the years of service they have. For long and meritorious service travel award scheme, we have 1,500 award scheme quotas. As the name says it all, it's a long and meritorious service travel award scheme. There should be a minimum service length requirement of 20 years. And usually officers receiving the award would have worked a lot more than 20 years in the government. The number of awards for each year is now on the basis of one award for every 27 officers. It used to be one award for every 30 officers, meeting the length of service requirement. Can we further increase the award quotas? Well, we think that we have to make the competitions fierce enough so that our colleagues will continue to strive for excellence and maintain good performance. If we are too lenient, then we may not be able to motivate our colleagues with the scheme. Second, can we raise the amount? Well, there is a mechanism for us to determine the amount of reimbursement. We adjust the amount based on CPIC. The amount this year has been adjusted, and we have reduced it by 1.4%. Madam Chair, after declare interest, a family member of mine is a civil servant. Next, Mr. Benson Luck, Deputy Chairman. Thank you. Madam Chair, we've just talked about punishing black sheep in the civil service. I believe that still the civil service is the backbone of our government and community. I have two questions. First, according to paragraph 12, publicity efforts. Civil servants receiving the awards will feel respected and recognized if their stories are publicized. And we hope that the colleagues of the awardees will follow suit by improving their performance. There are diversified promotional channels. You have made use of a prime time of RTHK to publicize the good stories, and you have also played some videos on different MTR stations, government venues, expos, and so on and so forth. But I think that we should encourage, say, in-person sharing. so that other civil servants will be influenced. Can we organize a sharing session for the awardees to share their experience with their fellow colleagues in the same departments or bureaus? That's my first question. Second, paragraph 13 of the paper. Apart from commendation schemes, we need to offer support to our civil servants. I see that the government offer telephone counseling service. I know that some civil servants sometimes need to air their stress out when they're faced with difficulties. And it is said in the paragraph that 10 departments provide dedicated counseling services for their own staff. I wonder why these 10 departments provide counseling service for their own staff. Also, overall speaking, how many civil servants have received the counseling service?
好啊，多謝主席。
Secretary. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, the awardees and publicizing them in the department. Thank you very much for your recommendation. Indeed, the awardees are from the general grade, which means that they may be rotating to other departments. Perhaps we can have some sharing session in different departments. Thank you very much for your recommendation. Second, the counseling service. Some departments are providing these services because they are large departments and they are public-facing departments. They do have a lot of contacts with the members of the public, and some would be involved in law enforcement, and there may be potential conflicts with the public. And in other cases, they provide counter services, handling a lot of applications, and they're working in high-pressure kind of positions, and counseling is provided to the colleagues. The management would not delve into the details of the problems that the colleagues encounter. We're just asking the departments to give us the broad categorization. And in most cases, about 40% or well over 50% are work-related, and some are health-related, finance-related, family-related, and so on. As to the statistics, with me are the statistics for 5 years. Now we have a couple of years spent in COVID, and there is less contact with the public during the COVID period, and we have 200 or so people utilizing this service. 2023, 300, 2024, 400 to 500 cases. So when things are back to normal, the number has increased. Dr. John, Madam Chair, thank you. These commendation schemes are terribly important because this would galvanize people to make improvement, and this is also showcasing the best examples. Now, for these commendation schemes, I heard what they are from the Secretary. Now, the members of the public may not know about the criteria for awarding these schemes. In the interest of transparency, would you publicize this more? I hope that this will engender a sense of belonging among the civil servants. Now a nomination is made for shortlisting. I'm thinking aloud here. Perhaps for the positions that are public-facing, perhaps you may allow nomination by the members of the public. That would incentivize the civil servants to work harder, to put in a better performance. In a way, this would boost the morale, and this would also improve the services. Secretary? Madam Chair, thank you. To a certain extent, we do let the public know about the criteria for the schemes. Like the SES Commendation Award Scheme, we have picked 10 cases and put them in a video for display in the social media. We'll do more of the same in future. Thank you very much for your recommendation. Now, these are rare cases. I mean, they find it very. They have a really high hurdle to go through. Now, normally, this would be nominated by the department. If members of the public find that civil servants are doing a good job, and they would write in with their commendations. I do receive letters in this regard from time to time. These are the factors and that would be taken into account in making nominations by the departments. Different departments have different nature of work. Some departments are more public-facing, and they do have their own internal commendations. I used to be the Commissioner of Transport. The licensing office has a lot of contact with the public. So every year, the licensing office would have some award whereby the users will be casting their vote. And also, the license holders of the commercial vehicles will be able to cast their vote to select the best performing civil servant. And we do have the stakeholders from outside the government that will be taking part in the ceremony. Mr. Stephen Ho, Madam Chair, thank you very much for giving me the floor, although I pressed the button after you. I heard from the Secretary that there are departments that are more public-facing, and they would get more awards if the civil servants are able to sort out problems, and then they should really get the commendation. But for departments that are not public-facing, people don't really have an idea of what these departments are. Would they stand a lower chance of being awarded? I know that item 1 is about monitoring the civil servants' performance. I think if they are doing well, they should be held up as a shining example. But there are some civil servants who are really doing the paperwork desk-bound. How can you identify these people and showcase their merits? Secretary, first of all, we invite the departments to make the nomination. There are some colleagues who are working in the back office, and they're not facing the public, but they are professional departments. They can also make the nominations. I remember we have the SES Commendation Award Scheme. I did award commendation to an engineer in the civil aviation department. He doesn't really do anything that is facing the public, but he's doing a marvelous job in setting up the system, and that person deserved commendation. As long as the department finds that the colleague is an outstanding civil servant, there would be commendation as well. We do have other considerations. Now we have the Civil Service Outstanding Service Award Scheme. We do encourage interdepartmental collaboration, and we would highlight the collaboration there by giving them the commendation. Or if IT is used in an outstanding manner, then nomination can be made for commendation to be awarded. I've got further question. I've encountered this before. Now let's say there is a job that would need 3 people to complete, and you're down to 1 person, and this person is doing very slowly because of the lack of support, then there would be complaints. Now, in terms of the commendation strategy, I know that the government is offering pretty good perks, and some people can be bothered about these commendations. Now, the CE's recommendation would be good, but would that be sufficient? In terms of the commendation scheme, would there be any adjustment? Can you ramp up the commendation in order to galvanize people to do a better job in future? Secretary. Well, for colleagues who are working under tremendous pressure, that should be reflected in their appraisal. If someone is working under intense pressure for a prolonged period of time and still he can put in excellent performance, then this person should be prioritized for promotion. I think this is one of the best ways of recognizing this person. And also commendation letter can be issued. We also have some grassroots staff who are putting in exemplary performance. Then in the honors and awards system, we would award them with the CE's commendation or some medals. This would be considered. Indeed, each year we do have some grassroots colleagues who are putting in excellent performance throughout the year, and some of them are working at the back office. They're not really facing the public, and they will also get the commendation. Well, in some cases, they may receive more complaints, and then they would stand a chance of getting the commendation. Secretary. Now, as I said, whether signed or anonymous complaints, we would investigate them, and we would try to get to the bottom of the facts. And if someone attracts complaints, if these complaints are unfair, this would not undermine the career of that civil servant. But I think the departments will have to look at the manpower situation in your example. As to the commendation and welfare, these are 2 separate things. Like the private sector, the civil servants would enjoy their own perks. But for commendation, it's only when they're performing in an excellent way that they will get the commendation. Now, we have the CE's award for exemplary performance, and this is a new addition in recent years. Now, members asked about the LMSTA, the Long and Meritorious Service Travel Award Scheme. It is 1 to 27 at the moment. It is indeed difficult. We do incentivize people. Now, we have the Civil Service Outstanding Service Award. We have included the category of IT. Where necessary, we would be adding different categories of commendation to give due recognition to the colleagues.
Thank you, Secretary. It's my turn. Regarding the Long and Meritorious Service Travel Award Scheme, It is said that the number of awards for each year is determined on the basis of one award for every 27 officers. I wonder why the ratio. Can you explain about this? And it is said that you have issued a total of 6,200 commendation letters in 2024. Which departments and bureaus receive the most number of commendation letters? For departments and bureaus that are subject to complaints, they may receive more commendation letters. I'd like to know more. Secretary. Thank you. On how we decide on the ratio of 1 to 27, well, it used to be 1 to 30. The Legislative Council asked us to increase the number of award quotas. The officers must meet the length of service requirement while having a track record of consistently very good performance. We've lowered the ratio from 1 to 30 to 1 to 27. We have to consider the resources that we have, and that's a real concern. I don't think that we have the means to further increase the award quotas. In some years, we have 2,000 award quotas. In some years, we have 1,500 award quotas. It actually depends on the number of officers meeting the length of service requirement. We have to look at the resources that we have, and we have to look at the effect of the award. We have this scheme in order to motivate colleagues to perform well in order to get the award. I don't have the information that you asked for regarding the commendation letter scheme. I will supplement after the meeting. There's no other member who would like to put questions. I conclude this item now. Now on to any other business. There being no AOB, thank you very much. Thank you.